Morning, everyone. Good Tov. We're learning Mishna Tanis, Parak Dalet, Chapter 4, Mishna Gimel, Mishna 3. We've been discussing until now the Anshe Mamad, the people of the Mamad. As we mentioned, the 24 groups of Kohanim and Leviim, that all the Kohanim and Leviim were divided into 24 groups. A group served for a week, and attached to that group were a group of Yisraelim that were a group of Israel assigned per Mishmar, and as we learned previously, they would fast, and they would read from the Torah, and they would be present. And those that were in Yerushalayim, they would be present when the Karban Tamid, the daily sacrifice, was brought in the Beis Hamikdash. They were present there at the Beis Hamikdash. Those who were not close to Yerushalayim would gather in their cities, where they would fast, they would pray, and they read from the Torah. So now Mishnah Gimel continues with that. Va'anshe HaMamad, and the members of the Mamad. Hayamisanim arba'ayam b'shavua. They would fast 4 days of the week. This would include those that were in Yerushalayim, those who were outside of Yerushalayim. And their fasting was all part of how they would be praying and fasting that the sacrifice would be accepted by Hashem. So Hayamisanim arba'ayam b'shavua. They would fast 4 days of the week, from the second day of the week until the fifth day of the week. Not straight, of course. At night they would break their fast, they would eat, but they fasted these days. They did not fast on Friday. Out of the honor of Shabbos. It would be a diminishment of the honor of Shabbos if people would come in all famished and weary from the fast, and therefore there is no fasting that is done on Friday. Nor did they fast on the first day of the week, so as not to leave rest and enjoyment, to weariness and fasting and die. Sounds like if you go from Shabbos to a fast, that sudden change from restfulness and enjoyment to fasting and its repercussions that could kill you. The commentary to Tiferes Yisrael brought down here says that's figurative. But what it means to say is that fasting after a day of feasting weakens the body excessively. Therefore, there was no fasting that was done on Sunday. Okay, so as we said before, they read from the Torah. So not only were they fasting, they read from the Torah. Now we're going to go through some of the laws about the reading from the Torah. So we said in the previous Mishnah, they read from the book of creation. But don't forget, you were talking about you had 6 days that the reading would be done. The whole week, the reading would be done. So by Yom HaRishon, on day 1, on the first day of the week, Bereshis V'hi Rakia, they read 2 days of creation, the first and the second. Bereshis, in the beginning, is the first day of creation. The second day of creation is where Hashem said, let there be a firmament. Basheni, on the second day of the week, Yehi Rakia, they read the second day of creation, which again, let there be a firmament, V'kavo Hamayim. And the third day of creation, where Hashem said, let the waters gather. Bashlishi, on the third day of the week, Yikavo Hamayim, they read the third day of creation, which was where Hashem said, let the waters gather, V'hima'aris, and also day 4, where Hashem said, let there be luminaries. Baravi, on the fourth day, Yihima'aris, the fourth day of creation, let there be luminaries, V'yishutzer Hamayim, and the fifth, which is when Hashem said, let the waters swarm. B'chamishi, on the fifth day, Yishutzer Hamayim, they read the fifth day of creation, let the waters swarm, and the sixth day of creation, let the earth bring forth. Bashishi, on the sixth day, they read the sixth day of creation where Hashem said, let the earth bring forth. And also what the Torah has after the sixth day of creation, talking about how everything was completed by Shabbos. So that's how they read. Now, Parsha Gedolah, a large portion was read by 2 people. A small portion was read by 1 person. So there were aliyahs, right? People were called up to the Torah. Now, actually, from the wording of the Mishnah, it says 2 would read. Excuse me. That means that the people called up actually did the reading themselves, and that's how aliyahs were done originally. the person called up did the actual reading. Later on, that changed to one person reading and other people coming up and making the brachas. So if it was a large parsha, a large portion, you had two people reading. A small one was one. What's large, what's small? So the halacha is that no aliyah can be left less than 3 verses, 3 psukim, no less than 3. That's the minimum for an aliyah. Parsha Gedayla means that if one of the sections had 5 verses, it was more than 3, it had 5 verses, then 2 people would read from it. When one of the days of creation, if one of the days of creation had 3 verses, then 1 person read. So when the Mishna says that a large portion they read, 2 people read, and a small portion 1 people read, the way it came out was like this. And I'll read it to you here from the notes. For example, on Sunday, the paragraph of in the beginning, which is 5 verses long, was divided between 2 people. One read the first 3 verses, and the other repeated the 3rd verse and read the last 2 verses. So as we said, an aliyah being called up to a reading from the Torah can't be less than 3 verses, but it's 5. So the first person reads 3, and the second person repeats the 3rd verse and reads 2, which is what we do on Rosh Chodesh. The paragraph of there be a firmament, which is day 2, which has 3 verses, was then read by a 3rd person. 1 person alone, 3 verses, that's fine. On Monday, the paragraph of let there be a firmament, on Monday, where we're again reading the second day of creation, which we just said is 3 verses, was read by 1 person, and the paragraph of let the waters gather, which is the 3rd day of creation, which consists of 5 verses, was divided between 2 people. And this was the pattern followed the rest of the week. Okay, that's what the Mishnah means. When it says large portion is 2 people reading from it, the small one is 1. Now, the Shachris of a Musaf. This was done by Shachris and Musaf, meaning on Shachris they read from the Torah, following what we just said, and on days that there were Musaf, they also had a reading of the Torah, again, following this pattern. There's a difference, though, that as we mentioned before, the reading of the Torah was done by both people who were present in Yerushalayim, who were supposed to be there, present at the sacrifice being offered. And you had the people in the other cities that were reading from the Torah. And the people in Yerushalayim also read from the Torah. When there was a Musaf offering, they didn't read from the Torah. And we're going to have that in a future Mishnah. So when it says B'Musaf, they did this, it's talking about the people outside of Yerushalayim, not the people in Yerushalayim. Uba mincha, by mincha time, nichnasim, they'd gather together, the kohen al pihen, and they read it by heart, meaning they'd come to the synagogue, they wouldn't take out the Sefer Torah. They were weary, worn out, they didn't take out the Torah. But they gathered together and read that day's reading by heart. Kakarin Shema, like we read Shema, right? We come together in shul and we read it together. This is how they did by mincha, the reading of the Torah for the Maimed. Erev Shabbos b'mincha lo hayu nechnasin. When it was Friday, they didn't even come together to shul to do that. By mincha, Erev Shabbos b'mincha lo hayu nechnasin. Erev Shabbos by mincha, they did not come into the shul to read together. And not only did they not read together, even separately on their own, they didn't read. They played Shabbos because of the honor of Shabbos. People, Friday afternoon, busy getting ready for Shabbos, and therefore, at that time, there was no reading of the Torah. Whether there was no reading at all, there was no reciting even of the reading of the Torah that's done by the people of the Maimed again on Friday. Have a wonderful week. Have a great day.